Like I grew up on films that I loved, laughing so hard till I cried, and then feeling so deeply that I cried. And so those are the emotions that I tried to put into this film.
So I'll start with you, Alex. Talk a little bit about when did you first come up with the concept and how it has changed from that initial idea.
So we came up with a concept in 2017, the beginning of 2017, so a long time ago. We had started Cuckoo Studios in 2016, and we spent the first year just sort of like dreaming up ideas for TV shows and for movies that we wanted to see that we felt like nobody else was making. And one of the ideas was a movie about the world of dreams. There's been a few great live action films about dreams. I mean, Inception probably being the best, but there has never been an animated film about the dream world, and that was shocking to us because it's such an incredible world to explore. It's a universal human experience, and we still don't know why we dream, and so it just felt like great material to explore for mythology, for fiction, for stories. And so that's what got us interested in this movie. But the challenge with a dream movie is that anything can happen. And when anything can happen, nothing really means anything. And so we had to find a way to ground this movie and give it stakes. And for that, that's when I sort of, thought about something that happened to me when I was a kid. And I sort of mentioned in the intro that this is a very personal film. Like my parents nearly split up when I was young. And as a kid, that was really challenging for me. And my brother, and we did everything we could to try and like save our family. And so this movie was sort of a very, it's very much like a waking, or sort of a reconciliation with the idea that like families aren't perfect and people aren't perfect, and life isn't perfect, but that's okay. I mean, that's really what life is about. It's like getting through the messiness of life with the people that you love, and that's what builds bonds and strengthens relationships. So yeah, that's sort of the genesis of the story. I think I wanted to tell the story because I feel like there's so much pressure on people and especially kids, especially in America, to make your dreams come true, to like live this perfect life. And some amount of that is really healthy, but it can go overboard, and it can become kind of, the dark side of that is like if you don't achieve your dreams, you feel like something's wrong with you, and that you've failed somehow, or that you're like a loser. And I just don't think that that's true. And so I really wanted to, ground dreams and sort of flip the charge on that, and showcase sort of like the possibility of getting lost in a dream. And conversely, with nightmares, obviously we all try to avoid nightmares in life. But the moments that I've, been the most down in life, things have not turned out the way that I wanted them to. Those are the moments that I've learned the most and I've grown the most. And also my family and friends have come together to help me out of those situations. And so I feel like nightmares, they get a bad rap, and they really, I wanted to, again, flip the charge on that and change the conversation around these two ideas. So,
can you talk about, either of you guys, about the mythology of the Sandman and sort of how much you take from sort of the actual mythology and how you use it in your favor? How do you repurpose it for your film?
Yeah, I mean, the Sandman was like a really key figure and a key sort of character to make the dream world movie work, because one of the big challenges is how do you connect what happens in the dream world with the real world. So our sort of like key discovery, what unlocked this movie, was that if the Sandman could make your dreams come true in the dream world, then you suddenly had a connection and stakes, and you could connect what happened in the dream world with the real world. So the original mythology of the Sandman is that he's just a giver of dreams. He sort of sprinkles sand over your eyes at night, which is why you wake up with those crusties in the morning. But we needed to expand on that and somehow connect the dream world with the real world. So we took a lot of the foundations of the mythology of the Sandman and then sort of expanded it to make this film work.
And was the family dynamic with the siblings sort of in different ages and the parents, potentially separated? Was that always part of the story? How did that dynamic evolve?
Yeah, it was, because it was, it was so based off of my own life, and I have a younger brother. I'm very much Stevie. I'm like the sort of obnoxious, type A, perfectionistic older sibling. I sort of feel responsible for my whole family, and my brother is much more sort of carefree and charming and fun-loving. Not the most responsible guy. But there's so much I've learned from him and his approach to life and how he just kind of goes with the flow and embraces like the messiness of life. And so that was always a part of this, and that was the journey that I think Stevie needed to go on, because it's kind of the journey that I needed to go on as a person. And then the parents' sort of separation was again inspired by what happened to me, with my family as a kid.
Erik, talk to us about Boloney Tony. Where did he come from? Was he always a giraffe? Was it always Boloney involved in the equation?
I guess Alex and I, we always wanted a stuffy because it felt like a nighttime thing. And Alex has like a personal stuffy that he grew up with. I also had a My Pet Monster. I don't know if you remember those things. And that had a torn belly that I would hide all the things I didn't want my brothers and sisters to find. But we knew, so we knew we wanted him to be a stuffy, but we also wanted him to challenge Stevie, right? And Stevie, this perfectionist, this idealist, we knew he should be a disgusting thing that will gross her out and be best friends with her little brother, which would drive her crazy, right? And so, we just thought, okay, it'll be this disgusting thing that'll guide them into the dream world and show them what to do. But he won't know. He'll be like Gandalf, but if Gandalf wasn't as wise as he should be, and if Gandalf had it in for Frodo, right? So we wanted to like play with the idea of like, there will be this dream guide who will show you the ways of the world, but also get in your way and like stick it to you,
Anything you want to add, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I just thought that was such a brilliant idea that Erik brought to the table, and it just made us laugh. I mean, Gandalf having it in for Frodo is just so genius. The stuffed animal that sort of inspired Boloney Tony from my life was my brother and I, when we were young, my aunt bought us these matching Santa bears. And they're these polar bear stuffies that had Santa hats on them. And they're pure white because they're polar bears. And my brother, when he was a kid, sometimes he had bloody noses, and he got some blood stains on the rear end of his Santa bear. So you can imagine what that looked like. And me being the older brother, I would torture him by, I nicknamed it Butthole Bear. And it just drove him crazy. But he still loved it. He still, every night, still slept with it, brought it with him everywhere. And when I thought back to that, I thought, that's so beautiful. Like he sort of embraced the disgusting mess of his stuffy, and that's kind of what Stevie needs to learn. She needs to sort of embrace the messiness of life. So thematically, that's why we wanted to make Boloney Tony this disgusting, bologna-smelling giraffe stuffed animal.
With dreams, when you have so much freedom that you could really create any scenario, any setting, how do you sort of determine which ones? How do you find Breakfast Town and sort of the little vignettes that we see? Because the possibilities are literally endless.
Yeah, I mean that is the biggest challenge with a dream movie, right? Like you can do anything. It's kind of like the blank canvas. It's so intimidating because there's so many options. So what we did is we really thought about trying to make it feel authentic to the actual experience of dreaming. So I don't know about you guys, but for me, when I dream, it's usually like things that happen to me during the day, people, places, and things that I encounter, they end up in my dreams at night. And so there's always that connection between the real world and the dream world. And we wanted that same connection for Stevie and Elliot. So in the movie, almost every single dreamscape that they visit is somehow set up or connected to an experience that they have in the real world. So, Breakfast Town, for example, it's, the opening is Stevie making French toast with her family. And French toast and breakfast sort of represents family to her. For me, my mom used to make me French toast as a kid, and every Sunday morning, that was what family time was. And food is so connected to emotions and memory. And so it made sense that because she's going after this perfect family, that she would enter into a dream world that was made of breakfast foods, because breakfast represents family to her. So it's things like that where that helped us ground it in the narrative and what Stevie was going after and what her arc was. So,
Erik, can you talk about the design of the Sandman and Nightmare? I think that's interesting, the contrast between those two and the human characters.
Sure. Yeah. I think early on we knew obviously Sandman would be made out of sand. But, we wanted him to be magical and this sort of big, fun, curvy guy that sort of was in the dad camp. He was kind of this representation of Dad and Elliot. There are all these sort of round shapes. And then Nightmare was, sort of in the mom camp where it was like these very sharp edges, aqueous, like, very moody and mysterious. So we definitely wanted those contrasting bits to be these two worlds at play, right? And it feels like, in the nightmare world, like the sort of like misty, stormy sort of feel of Nightmare is like something terrifying for a kid, but also when you meet her, it could be something very soothing and calming, right? The same thing with Sandman. We always thought of him as a showman who doesn't necessarily know how everything works. He's making it up as he goes along. He's kind of a shyster, so we wanted him to be sparkly and big and bold, but also, he means well. He's a fun-loving guy. So those were the two sort of plays, and I thought Stephen Pilcher, the production designer, he did a great job at like finding the right textures and mood to encapsulate those two sides of our world.
Both of you guys have worked in animation for a while. What was it like to step into the director's chair for this one, for your first feature?
It was fantastic. We know each other from our days at Pixar. We used to share an office when we worked on Cars 2 together. It was like love at first sight. We just became fast friends. And I'm so, I admire Erik so much and his talent and his humor, his comedy brain. And he's just, he's such a brilliant filmmaker and artist. And I was just so pleased and amazed and just felt so blessed to be able to work with him on this film. I think, working in the story department for so many years at Pixar really, I think, prepared us for this role as a director, because you're as a story artist, you're always thinking about what services the story, and that's kind of your job as a director. It's just the tools that are available to you are so much wider. I don't know, what was it like for you, Erik?
You could picture our office was very much like Stevie and Elliot's bedroom. Alex, you could see it. Alex's side was perfect. His drawings were the same way, beautiful, pristine. And I always looked up to his talent, and then my side was very much a mess. It was just destruction and chaos and baloney everywhere, figuratively and literally. But we became fast friends, and I felt like that really helped out while we were making this thing. Just the fact that we had this friendship to ground us and sort of guide us through this thing, because there were, as you can imagine, making something for so long, you do have moments where you see it a certain way and he sees it a different way, but you hash it out, and we knew whatever sort of story road we were going to go down on, we would always sort of end up being friends in the end.
That was really important, like trusting that I just trusted his instincts on a lot of things, but I also trusted my own instincts. And occasionally we'd have disagreements. But what Pixar taught us was that's actually the best part of the process, and that's actually where something new emerges, right? So if I have a point of view and he has a different point of view, and we're sort of arguing it out, and we're trying to give our points of view and help the other person understand why we think the way we're thinking, inevitably something new would emerge from that, because we would start to see each other's points of view, and we'd get sort of a more holistic understanding of the situation. So it was just fantastic to to work with somebody who I admired so deeply and was so articulate in how he thought about things.
I guess something that feels Pixar about this movie is the way you guys balance the gravitas, the emotional aspects of the story with the humor. It's a very funny movie in unexpected ways. So talk about that balance.
Yeah, I think it's the types of movies that we want to make. And the types of movies we love. Like, I grew up on films that I loved laughing so hard till I cried, and then feeling so deeply that I cried. And so those are the emotions that I tried to put into this film. And striking that balance, it's really just trial and error. I mean, the benefit of animation is you get to put up your reels, right, and you can test things out. And so that was really helpful because we were dealing with such a challenging subject matter and at times really heavy emotions. And having that comedy there really helped lighten the mood. There's a scene. When Stevie discovers the text from Mom, and then we cut to the house later on, and then the mood is kind of somber, and Elliot comes in and he's like, "Hey, turd nugget," and that scene for the longest time it was just silent of him walking to his bed, and there was something missing, like it just felt too heavy. And what we did when we were at Skywalker doing the sound, I don't know if it was you or me, we were like, "Hey, what if Elliot was humming the Don't Ya song? Like that would be really funny." And so we just called Elias and we said, "Hey, can you like hum this song for us?" And he went into his closet, hummed it. We sent it to the Skywalker team. They put it in. And if you look, there's no lip sync there. Like he actually doesn't move his mouth. He doesn't say "Don't ya?" But we timed it so that when he pulls off that cover, it's timed with the "Don't ya" line. And that suddenly just lifted that whole moment up and gave us the levity to go back down to the heaviness that when Stevie reveals to Elliot what's actually going on with her parents.
Anything you want to add, Erik?
Yeah, no, that's right on. It feels like with especially Elliot and his brand of humor, it felt like he would be the balance to Stevie, and we always tried to find those ways, like to sort of find the balance. With me, like even on any project, I will sort of have these odd jokes that pop into my brain, and I'll always draw them. But for some reason, in a dream movie, you're allowed to do that. Like you can put a moldy muffin in there and they go, "Yeah, that makes sense. I've dreamt about a moldy muffin. Doesn't everybody?" So this was, the perfect sort of excuse to kind of go out there and do something too far. And then, maybe Laser Farts was too far. I don't know. I feel like it was right at the level that I needed.
So should we assume that you came up with Delilah, the perfect princess?
He also voices Delilah.
Oh, we want the backstory. We want her. What happened to her? How did she get there?
Well, I think it was, I drew her in there. I don't know how these things, probably late at night, right? It was for like one of those, late at night storyboards. And you're like, "Oh, I want this creepy thing to be back there that also freaks them out." And you draw this thing, and it was, my drawings are terrible, chicken scratch. But I remember thinking like, okay, I need to put in a voice really quickly because we got to sell this joke and get it into the reels. And so I kind of ran into upstairs to the closet and opened up my iPhone and just went, "I'm a perfect princess." Like that just felt right for the drawing. And then I remember like we put it in and we're like, "Oh yeah, that's funny." And I couldn't redo it again. Like we even got professionals like, "Hey, can you try and do this? Like for real, like you're an actor, you can do this." And we got so many people to try and even do the voice I was doing, and we're like, "Oh, it's missing that weird in the bedroom closet flavor." And I remember like even we got me on the mic and I was like, "Okay, we'll do this professionally. It'll sound better." And I couldn't do it. I couldn't top the one that like late at night in the closet, So the one you hear in there is my iPhone just playing that first one of like, "I'm a perfect person." That's the one.
You were possessed by Delilah?
It was,
You know what I love about that character and that joke is it seems so random, but it's actually thematically so perfect because Stevie's problem is that she's a perfect princess, and this is that part of her subconscious revealing itself to her. So
always the plan. Always that was no. I don't know where these things.
Since you talk about voices, talk about directing your cast in this one and finding the right voices for all of your characters.
I mean, we were so lucky, like Jolie and Elias, who they voiced Stevie and Elliot. I mean, they're just like these little kids who just have so much talent. Jolie, when we started recording with her, she was 15 years old. Now she's a sophomore in college. But I heard her audition, and I know somebody was like, "Jesus."
Jesus. Oh,
I know, tell me about it.
Time.
But we had hundreds of auditions from actors all over the country, and when I heard hers, I just felt this like old soul quality to her. There was like an intelligence to her, but also like a burdened, sense of like I'm carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders. And when I met her, she's exactly Stevie to a T. She is like, she's kind of like me, a kind of obnoxiously type A, and like very perfectionistic, really intelligent, really always wanting to fix things and do things right. And I just thought, oh, that's exactly the type of character Stevie is, and she totally embodies that. And with Elias, what's impressive about him is when he started, he was 8 or 9 years old. Now he looks like a K-pop star. He's like wearing chains and everything. He's got blonde hair.
He drove me here today.
But he, in the film, he's so rambunctious and like high energy and just kind of, all over the place. But in real life, he's very demure and very mature. And so I was shocked when I heard his audition and then met him in real life. I was like, wow, it's such a strange contrast. But it just showed me like how talented this kid was. And whenever we brought him into the room, he just like brought that energy level. So it was, we were so lucky. And then obviously like Simu and Kristen Milioti just won the Emmy for her role in Penguin, and she was fantastic. And I always knew, I'm so glad that she's like getting the recognition that she deserves, because I first knew about her when I worked on Venture Brothers. I don't know if you guys know that show, but it was my first job out of college. And I was storyboarding on that show, and I heard her do voices for different characters in that show, and I was just like, who is this person? She's so funny, and she's got so much range. And then she did How I Met Your Mother. She did, the Broadway show Once, and then Palm Springs and Black Mirror, and then ultimately Penguin. And so I just keep telling her like, you're gonna like win an EGOT. She's just so talented.
The movie premieres on Netflix tonight. What do you want people to take away once they watch it in terms of its message, its themes, the family dynamic of it all?
I mean, I think it's the stuff that I talked about earlier, which is, that life is imperfect. It's really messy, but that's okay. I mean, that's just what life is like. And actually getting through that messiness with the people you love is what makes life meaningful. I think that's really the takeaway that I've gotten from all of the messiness in my own family. And so, I think that's what we set out to do with this film. I don't know, Erik, what do you think?
I mean, I echo the same thing. That's what drew me to the project, was this idea that expectations versus reality, right? Like, we all design our lives to be a certain way, but they never go the way we anticipate. But if we lean on each other, find each other, that is the constant, right? That love will keep going, right? That and when you're asleep, magic happens.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Erik. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thanks, everybody.